Watch out now. Twins walk-off winners and extras today versus the Mets. Ty France knocks in Byron Buxton in the 10th. Full deep dive coming on the Minnesota Twins postcast.
This is the Twins postcast. Your instant game reaction for the Minnesota Twins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Twins postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. CJ Baumgartner with me again. He's on X at BombCJ30. Twins expert over at Zone Coverage MN as well. CJ, Twins' first victory in extra innings this year. And even though it didn't look the way we wanted, I guess, after the 8th inning meltdown, we'll touch on that here in a second, but maybe this is the shot in the arm, the momentum they need to get this train moving again, huh?
Yeah, it really felt like through the first few weeks of the season that this is a game that the Twins were destined to lose, right? Going in with that 3-run lead in the 8th inning, you cough it up. You got first 2 runners on. You got runners on second and third, nobody out in the top of the 10th, and this is just a game it felt like earlier in the season that like they would just find a way to lose, and today they found a way to win and now have won 3 out of their last 4. So yeah, a really good shot in the arm for this team.
All right, lots to get into from this one. Again, the 8th inning meltdown plus the extra inning comeback win. And David Festus, nice day on the mound as well. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Game Time. Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right, so again, Twins trying to put up back-to-back wins for the first time since games 5 and 6, that would have been. Early April 1st and April 2nd versus the White Sox. Game 3 versus the Mets to take the series, the rubber match. David Festa, 4 1/3 innings of strong work today. 5 hits, no earned runs, 6 Ks. Twins up 3-0 in the 8th. Here comes Mr. Reliable, right? Griffin Jacks. Little meltdown for Griffin Jacks today. 4 hits, 3 earned runs, including back-to-back doubles to start that inning. So now we're all tied up at 3s. Fast forward to bottom 10, Ty France, game winner, base hit to score Byron Buxton. Again, Twins win this one in extras. 4-3 was your final. They finally win back-to-back games again since April 2nd. Take the series from the Mets. They move up in the standings 7-12 on the year. Your biggest takeaways, I guess, kind of your A topics. What stuck out the most today from today's, I don't want to call it a comeback win because that's not what it was, but a fun, again, hopefully shot in the arm for this team win.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest takeaways, really, you could put it to just the timely hitting. And I know it didn't come through in every situation, but it's unrealistic to expect them to come through in every situation all season long. But can they come away with more wins than not in terms of, high leverage spots, runners in scoring position? Are you able to come through? They weren't always able to capitalize today, but for the most part, they were able to do it. And they were able to do it with aggressive base running, whether it was Harrison Bader, whether it was Byron Buxton, whether it was Eddie Julian. You saw guys running the bases, trying to do that stuff, take the extra 90 feet. They were able to do that, and it helped them come through in some big situations. And then, of course, in the 10th inning, Ty France coming up and getting the single right away in the 10th inning with the runner on second base and Byron Buxton. And I think that's basically it. The timely hitting wasn't perfect today, and it never will be. But more often than not, they were able to come away with runners in scoring position and come away with runs, and that's the difference today.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
All right, well, we only hand these MVP awards out after wins, so we haven't done this a lot this year, but today's MVP for the Twins, who was it and why?
There's a couple good candidates you could give it to. You could give it to Duran for keeping things controlled. You could give it to Cole Sands for getting the double play. You could give it to a couple different guys, but you know what? You get a walk-off hit today. I think that deserves it. I think we got to give it to Ty France. Coming into this game, I think since being named American League Player of the Week, I don't think he's had a hit since then. Ironically, he came in today to that at bat 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and then first pitch swinging, or one of the first couple pitches, lining and right into center field for a hard struck single that the center fielder for the Mets couldn't quite handle. So I think we got to go with Ty France. Just because you get a walk-off hit, you probably got to get it.
Yeah, it feels like the extra inning game winners oftentimes come from the guys that you just least expect. And like you told me before the game started, he was due. He was definitely due. Can we get a quick update on Matt Wallner and Carlos Correa? Both left yesterday's game and seem to be day-to-day as of now. But to what extent day-to-day, that could vary quite a bit from each player and each injury as well.
Yeah, well, the good news is that for Carlos Correa, he was able to come back in the game. So Willie Castro had to leave. Mickey Gasper pinch hit for him, and Gasper's the only player on the bench because, like you said, with the injuries to Wallner and Correa from the night before, the Twins didn't make a roster move, and we're probably just trying to see if they could get through into the off day, reassess, and kind of figure things out. It's a good sign, obviously, that Correa was able to come back in the game, although a little weird that he didn't come in to hit for Gasper and that he just came out in the field. So that maybe is a little telling, but the fact that he was able to go out in the field probably means an IL stint is not in proximity for him. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Matt Wallner, but based on the way Rocco Baldelli talked about things pregame and the quotes that reporters who were at the ballpark put out there, it kind of feels like they're going to avoid injured list stints and try and see how things go. Luckily, the Twins have their first off day in a couple weeks tomorrow. So if you give Wallner the day off and Correa, for the most part, had the day off, and then combine that with the off day, and hopefully that rest is going to be able to be fine. Long story short, I think we've avoided IL stints for both of them, but I'm knocking profusely on wood as I say that.
Yeah, I love that, though. David Festa did his part today for sure. He just looked strong today. 4 1/3 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 6 Ks. Did all that, too, on just 76 pitches as well. How does stuff look today? Just from the naked eye, you're an elite MLB baseball mind, and do you think he can be a full-time part of this rotation as the season kind of wears on if needed? Like, not just an injury replacement guy, but like an actual legit quality MLB starting pitcher, even if that is the number 4 or 5 guy in a rotation.
Yeah, well, in terms of this year, I really think David Festa has the ability to stick in this Twins rotation. Again, we talked about strikeouts. He was able to get, I believe, 5 of them throughout his time today. So he, in the 5 innings, so was able to get that. And again, that'll kind of come today. This is a really good Mets lineup. But overall, I think David Festa is going to be a guy that can really be impactful for this Twins rotation this season. Obviously, he's a long-term play. He's going to be in the Twins rotation for the next few years, as long as he can stay healthy. But yeah, in terms of this year helping out, if Pablo Lopez can't quite come back, or if another pitching injury happens, or if he's just needed, there was a case he could have made the team out of spring training. Simeon Woods Richardson got the 5th spot, just being the guy who, had a good spring, had a really good 2024, trying to reward him for that. But Zebby Matthews pitched really well as well. And it was kind of between him, Festa, and Woods Richardson for that 5th spot. And the fact that Festa didn't have the best spring, still got the benefit of the doubt, got called back up, and has put together not like unbelievable outings, but just 2 like back-to-back reliable. Didn't pitch a ton of innings today, ran into a little bit of trouble trying to close out his last inning, but overall didn't allow a run, looked good. Yeah, I think overall in the early part, we'll be seeing a lot of David Festa this season at Target Field.
Yeah, a stock pointing up right now for him for sure. Plenty more deep dive from this one. I want to talk about the Twins, kind of where they stand right now in the American League Central. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the MLB. Right now, FanDuel is giving you a chance at a huge return, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you hit your first $5 wager. Why I love FanDuel? When you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can go check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you hit your first $5 wager. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Get in some MLB future action while you're there. Twins plus 280 right now to win the AL Central. Good value. It's all sitting up over at FanDuel.com. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the MLB. Nerdy stat of the daytime. Any crazy stat, fun analytic, Twins related today after this one? What do you got laid on us?
Yeah, there's a lot of different and kind of fascinating places we could go in terms of the nerdy stat of the day. But I think where we really have to turn to is Byron Buxton able to leg out and score in the 5th inning. And able to score from second base. And the way he was able to do that, he had a 29.7 sprint speed in terms of feet per second, 29.7 feet per second. That ties him with 4th fastest in Major League Baseball this season. Buxton may be pushing 30, but he still is running as good as ever. That's awesome to see.
Boy, gotta love to see that for sure. What else is going on right now in the AL Central? Like for people who have only been kind of tuned in, glued on the Twins, 3 weeks into the season, this division was supposed to be wide open outside of the White Sox, 4-team race. But who's showing some early signs of being maybe the team to beat, and who's sticking out the most? Could be a player or it could be a team, I guess.
Yeah, for the AL Central, it's kind of been, for the most part, it's been pretty wide open. The Guardians and the Royals have started about 500 to the year. Tigers just a few games above, so still pretty wide open for the Twins to catch up, all things considered. It's not like last year where the Guardians were like 20-4 to start the year or something insane like that, where there was just no catching them. White Sox are, they're still the White Sox. But, for the division, the Tigers they were the co-favorites for the Twins by some betting people, to begin the year and all that. And right now, the Tigers have kind of showed the promise they had from last year and the pitching that they've been able to throw out there, and the Twins were able to see it over the weekend. But I think really it's just the Tigers have been kind of the team that's popped up as the early favorite so far. Other than that, Bobby Witt Jr. just continues to do Bobby Witt Jr. things over in Kansas City.
All right, don't go anywhere. Quick preview, Atlanta Braves series starting up. That's on Friday. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, now with more than 10 million members to date. And for me, my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. It's so simple. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more player stats. Watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season officially here. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, home runs, stolen bases, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay. Quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly with any $5 wager. All right, brand new 3-game series with the Atlanta Braves. That's on Friday now, as you mentioned, after a day off. Chris Paddock on the mound for Game 1, 6:15 first pitch on Apple TV, by the way. A quick snapshot on the Atlanta Braves right now and how well maybe the Twins match up with them offensively, defensively. Again, potentially with no Correa and no Matt Wallner.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's interesting because the Atlanta Braves and the Minnesota Twins have a decent amount of parallels in just terms of like really out of nowhere disappointing starts to the season. The Braves, I believe, started like 0-7 or something like that. They've slowly kind of pulled themselves out of it, but they're a team like the Twins that has just seen a really sluggish start to the year, now trying to come into form over the last week. Both these teams are. So they're kind of in the same boat where it's like both fan bases did not expect this poor of a start to begin the year and now have to dig themselves out of some early April holes. So we're going to find out kind of which team is more desperate coming into this weekend.
This is what you'll be talking about.
You mentioned this team finally won 3 out of the last 4 games. First time they've won back-to-back wins again since April 2nd. What's the water cooler talk, right? Like, what's everybody texting after their first walk-off victory of the year as well in the Twins group chats later today?
Yeah, I think what a lot of people are going to be talking about is just the fact of how the Twins ran the bases today. And yeah, Harrison Bader got thrown out in just a really kind of fluky review where his hand comes slightly off the bag, and it's the right call, but it's always not in the spirit of replay. That's kind of my soapbox. But either way, the Twins really did run the bases well today, whether it was Byron Buxton hustling around the bases, Harrison Bader running, Deshaun Kersey on the bases can do some stuff, also Willie Castro. And I'm not the first person to point this out, but I've seen it make social media. I mean, when was the last time the Twins had 4 guys in their lineup that were not just like, oh yeah, maybe they could steal a base here or there if you're not paying attention, but like legit base stealers? And I think what people are going to be talking about is, even though it's not perfect in terms of a lineup perspective, the speed that the Twins have in this current construction is very fascinating. And Rocco Baldelli has been pushing the stolen base button a lot this year. Buxton already has 4 stolen bases. Bader's stealing some bags. You have Castro and, of course, Deshaun Kersey help out with that. So it'll be really interesting to see how the Twins' running game is used over the next week or two.
Put that in comparison, just real quick before we get out of here, to last year's Twins, or even Twins from the last 2-3 years, because I always sat and watched these games without looking up the stats. I felt like we got to be dead last in the league in stolen bases, despite having guys like Byron Buxton, who, granted, okay, you don't want him out there stealing bases left and right every single game, but where are they now compared to where were they last year? I guess, where are they now on pace, I guess, as far as, middle of the pack, bottom end of the league, still where they at?
Yeah, so for the Minnesota Twins, anything has been better than where they were
Right.
under the Rocco Baldelli era. And it's not that when I say it, it's not necessarily that I'm saying like this is a Rocco Baldelli thing. Rocco Baldelli is a Tampa Bay Rays guy, disciple there, and the Rays love to steal bases. So it's not necessarily that Rocco Baldelli came here and said, I don't want to steal bases. But that being said, the Twins are dead last in stolen bases from 2019 through 2024. Dead last, not even close. They were towards the bottom last year. And it's not necessarily because he doesn't want to steal bases, as we've seen when you got 4 speedy guys you're going to run. The Twins just necessarily haven't had a lot of the guys. There've been a lot of big swingers, a lot of people that aren't necessarily the ones who are going to steal bases, because you don't want to steal for the sake of stealing bases. You're going to run into a ton of outs, but also they've just been dead last. And now you see them with a little bit more speed start to push that button just a touch more and more. I'm not sure how it ranks so far this season, but anything is better than where they were currently, which is dead last.
Yeah, breath of fresh air. Finally, nice to see, again, just some movement on the base pass for once when watching the Minnesota Twins. Again, Twins walk-off winners today. They take the series from the Mets. Thank you, Ty France, for the walk-off winner. Final score 4-3. 7-12 now on the year. Huge shout-out to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go check out all of CJ's work on Twitter as well, at BombCJ30, plus all the work he's always ripping up over at Zone Coverage, MN.com as well. Luke Inman on X, at Luke_Spinman. Game 1 versus Atlanta. That's Friday after a day off. 6:15 first pitch. Chris Paddock on the mound. We'll check you right here, same time, same place. But until then, signing out.